The previous basket is under review.
Welcome back to Stats by Will and Jim, a college basketball podcast that focuses on the numbers. We are proudly a part of the Basket Under Review umbrella, the very best college basketball community going. Please check out the site and the Discord if you have not yet. Only $10 a month gets you access to all kinds of written content from Jordan Majeski, from Matthew Winnick, from Brian Ralph, from guest writers like Joey Dwyer. You get Jordan Majeski's game write-ups in there. And our very own Will Warren of Stats by Will and Jim fame is always writing there. Just came out with his first conference tournament previews. Definitely want to check that out, folks, if you have not yet. We've also got the Burp, the Basket Under Review pod with Eamon Brennan and Tate Frazier, Weekend Under Review, Scout Team, everything you could imagine for college hoops. It's all under the sun there. Fun under the sun. But we're back with an episode of Stats. I am your host, Jim Root, joined as always, almost always, by Will Warren. And folks, it's a flu game, more or less. It is an infection or a sickness game for Will, and he is battling through. For the listeners, you got to tip the cap to the guy showing up, even when he's not feeling his best. Darren Peterson.
Yeah, they're calling me Puka Doncic in the group chat. So it could be worse, but yeah, we're battling. We're gonna make it through. Look, Darius Acuff, he was 49 minutes in that double overtime game.
I think all 50.
Like
all 50.
I think all 50. Yeah, I can give you at least an hour of my time. This is a lot less intensive than actually playing the sport. I'm just a white guy commentating, baby. This is easy in comparison.
In a cozy chair with a mic in front of you, we can handle what we're doing here. We've got our standard in-season episode. Nothing too special for conference tournaments. TBD if we will go in a different direction next week in the heart of championship week. But we'll start off with the trivia question in a second. Then we've got our 7-stat rotation where we'll go back and forth talking about numbers that stand out to us or stood out to us from the previous week. But before we get to that, as I mentioned, it's trivia time. Will, let's kick it off. The stat of the day. I went through the first half and second half scoring margins of every team in the country and sorted by the biggest differences. So in the Power 5, the trivia question is, which teams are much better in the second half and which ones are much better in the first half? And I will start with a couple of hints. I've got the top 5 written down and then a couple of stragglers and a couple other notables. But there's 2 that I think are basically ungettable that are better in the second half. But there are a couple that I think Will might know. One team has come back from a lot of double-digit deficits to get big wins. There's another with a star freshman that has rallied from some deficits in the second half. There's a couple of hints for you to start off.
Okay, so that's Kentucky and BYU.
Bingo. Ding, ding, ding.
Okay, that's easy. So much better. So this is just much better in second half or also much better in first?
I also have the better in first half waiting. If you want to take a shot at that, I can give some hints there too. The one that's ungettable that's better in the second half is Rutgers. I don't know how that happened. I guess they're just taking a dive in the first half and rallying or something. Let's see. For teams better in the first half, we've got 2 Big Ten and 3 SEC, all of whom should be... Well, 4 will be in the tournament. The 5th is dicey. They're a bubble team right now.
Tennessee's probably one of these first half teams.
Tennessee is correct. They're number 3.
That makes me just want to ram my head with a hammer. The other SEC teams, I'm going to guess one is Vandy. I feel that Vandy's had some weird second half struggles at times.
This is a true flu game, folks. He hasn't missed yet. He's just swinging for the fences. Vandy is number 5, and the team's better in the first half.
Okay, and then 2 Big Ten.
And another SEC if you feel so compelled to.
I'm almost tempted, and this is probably wrong to say Michigan, just because it feels like Michigan builds up so many huge first half leads.
They're close-ish. I think they've also had some huge second halves. I'm thinking like the Northwestern game, they were like tied at halftime and then destroyed in the second half. Shout out to LJ Kaysen, who dominated that game and is now out for the season. So it's like Michigan needed some sort of difficulty mode to see if they could win the title this year. So.
Yeah, they needed to amp it up just a little. Okay.
The hints for better in the first half, one of the Big Ten teams is very well known for its offense and its Europeans.
Illinois.
Yep. And then the Big Ten team that's on the bubble is, I would say, going the wrong direction on the bubble.
Indiana.
Yep, they're the number one team in the country at being better in the first half than the second half. I was surprised
Wow,
by that.
really?
Yeah. I guess number one. Yeah, number one in Power 5. Alabama is also in the top 5 there. For
Hmm.
teams better in the second half, TCU, which surprised me. They've been better in the second half of the season than the first half. I'll give them that. And then Seton Hall has had a lot of like big rallies in the second half. It's like their physicality has worn teams down. A couple other notables: Nebraska has been better in the second half, and then Bellarmine is number one in the entire country in second half differential. I don't know what to tell the folks about what that means for the ASUN tournament, but keep an eye out for the
I have
notes
to
there.
imagine that's because they're down by 20 like every single game.
Yep. And I think that contributes to some of these better in the first half teams, like Houston's way better in the first half, UConn, Texas Tech, Iowa. They're all better in the first half. A couple other notables: Santa Clara, San Diego State. So just something to keep an eye on. Miami of Ohio, also very high in the better in the first half category.
Hmm.
That's it. Whether that's enormously compelling or not, that's up to the folks. I think it is somewhat notable, especially the second half teams like Kentucky. I think checks out with anything anybody's watched this year. BYU as well, and sadly, Will was able to spot on nail his Vols as being a first half team.
Don't worry, they'll be brought up in this episode because I'm just stupid enough to not quit yet.
There we go. Hey, there's got to be another jinx in there somewhere. We can cast that scourge upon a couple more teams today. Before we get to our stat rotation, though, I want to give a shout out to Home Field Apparel, which is the best place to get your college sports gear. And buy now to get it before March Madness. They can get stopped up and backed up on shipping. So I definitely would encourage buying ASAP if you're going to want to wear it for the NCAA tournament, particularly the opening round. Make sure to check out their new Hoop Society drop. Got a campus court collection. It's amazing. It's like retro hoodies and shorts for some of the sport's most iconic programs. So like any blue blood, you've got these old school shorts with 80s logos, like the Arizona logo with the cactus on it, the script Kansas, and some really, really big time old school logos. Louisville's like Duncan Cardinal is on there. So great, great gear. Really encourage checking that out. Make sure you use promo code Burner15 when you're checking out. And if you don't want that Hoop Society stuff, then just check out all the other kinds of gear they've got, mid-majors and whatnot. T-shirts, hoodies, sweaters, jackets, hats, joggers, hockey jerseys, warm-up shooting shirts. I mean, it's all there. Homefieldapparel.com, promo code Burner15 for 15% off your first purchase. It's homefieldapparel.com. Wear one for the team. Okay, Will, let's get into it. You are, as always, our leadoff hitter here in the 7-stat rotation, so take it away.
All right. I'm going to be the first person to bring any of these 3 teams up all year, Duke, Michigan, and Arizona. So at Torvik right now, as I'm looking, there are 53% odds, this is my number, 53%, that a team not named Duke, Michigan, or Arizona wins the national title. Now, if you look at most basketball media analysis, I think most people would be like, oh, there's a 90% chance these 3 could do it. But this doesn't include like a Florida or a Houston or even an Illinois or teams like that, or UConn. The thing here is that I do believe these 3 have separated themselves from the field, both, metrically and, they're going to be 1 seeds. Florida could be a pretty stout 2, of course, especially for historical purposes, but it's looking unlikely or unlikelier that they'll get the 1. I think that's probably UConn's to lose, I would imagine.
Yeah, seems like it. Yep.
Barring like losing out or something. So my question for you and for the audience, do you take what's roughly a coin flip here with the other 65 teams in the field, or are you planning on riding with the big 3?
I would probably ride with the big 3. I've just seen enough of their dominance. I mean, this past week has it feels like reinforced it and has been big for the narratives in terms of Duke thrashing Virginia and destroying NC State. Michigan easily smoked Illinois on the road. Arizona dominates Iowa State and Kansas at home. So not only have these teams been the best all year, we've seen there's probably some recency bias to how incredible they've been in recent games as well. And Arizona gets Pete back. That's huge for them. I am definitely curious to watch Michigan without Kaysen. I don't think he's obviously he's not a starter. He's not one of their best 3 players, probably not one of their best 5, but he's an out that they no longer have when Cadeau's not playing well, or if they need a spark plug of scoring, taking him away does hurt them a little bit. I was going to ask you, Will, right back. First, which would you take? Which side of the coin flip there? And then if you had to, in a trial of the 7 sort of situation, you have to pick 3 to go in the ring with these 3. Who would it be? I'm assuming Florida will be in there based on their incredible advanced analytics and the fact they won the title last year. But if you had to pick 3 to go against them, I know they've separated themselves, but who would it be?
So I would ride with the big 3. I think it's going to be, in terms of like who I do pick when it gets to Selection Sunday, which insane that we have one more show and then it's Selection Sunday.
Yeah.
It'll probably end up being Duke, sadly, but we'll see. The 3 that I would pick from the other 65, or I guess the other 362, if you want to go that far, I am going to ride with, and I don't love my picks here, but you got to pick somebody, Florida, Houston, and Illinois.
Oh,
The Illinois one is the one that makes me most nauseous. I don't really love it, especially given that I don't really like this Illinois defense that much. I think, at some point, the fact you can't force turnovers is just straight up a problem. Even if you don't foul, even if you had pretty good first shot defense, even if you rebound well, like eventually a team is going to, beat you on the fact that like, oh, they can rebound like Michigan did, and they can still get to the line. So there are still some worries there. And it's a little old school of me. I do not love taking a team that takes over half their threes or half their shots from 3. It makes me a little worried in a one-off situation. But their offense-defense split is not dissimilar to champions past, like a Baylor or a 2009 North Carolina or a 2015 Duke. All teams that were top 2 or 3 in offensive efficiency, but around 30th to 40th in defensive. So it's not outlandish to me that, Illinois could win the title. I don't think they will. I wouldn't pick them to do it. But if you were naming, potential outcomes for the 2026 NCAA tournament, there are several way crazier to me than Illinois winning it all. It wouldn't be that insane.
If Illinois if their only loss since December 13th was this Michigan throttling at home, and they had one coin flip overtimes against Michigan State, Wisconsin, UCLA, you probably see them mentioned as a big 4 at the top there. I mean, they would be a 1 seed right now. They'd be 25-4 at this point through the Big Ten with only 2 losses. I think that would completely alter the way people think about them. Sometimes overtimes don't go your way, and 2 of those 3 were on the road. So I'm not too worried about that. The one I'm worried about your safety, because Danny Hurley is attacking you for not putting him in your trio there.
Jesus, no escalators will be DMing me.
Yep. Here you go. But hey,
a trusted agent and friend, I will say, to many, the dismay of many. Apparently, I had no idea my friend No Escalators was so hated across the college basketball landscape. I did understand.
We'll talk a little more UConn. I've got a stat on them, so I'll holster that. But I will say
it would be really good shit by Illinois to keep losing, because then the bracket value goes up for me. People love forgetting about a team because they went 6-4 to finish.
Yep, that's Auburn last year. People like, oh, this 1 seed has. I guess maybe they were the least likely to make the Final Four, and they needed to come back. And I can't remember if it was a Sweet 16 or the Elite 8. But they still made it, despite the little stumble down the stretch. Okay, my first number it's Duke related, and I want to shout out Jordan Mann, who I met at the Final Four last year. Nice guy. J Man's Takes on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
He played at the media pickup.
This is embarrassing. When you mentioned it in my head, I was like, I thought this was Jake Heilman. But no, I know that these are 2 different people. Okay.
Those 2 are easy to cross up in your head. Yes. But the number is 100th, and that is Duke's percentile ranking in baseline out of bounds and sideline out of bounds efficiency. You could throw in from his tweet there now 95th percentile in all after timeout plays. Like, Duke's already good enough. And the fact that they're awesome in special situations is a credit to Shire, to his staff. I brought up Evan Brads, a former Belmont player, brought him up on the Weave Pod. I'm guessing he's been helpful offensively with the movement and stuff that he's brought from Belmont. But most of the credit sure's got to go to Shire. I think Will Wade said they were like the most incredible operation of a program he's ever seen after Monday night, like in the college game. Like, not just the team on the floor, but like everything involved. And he's like, that's the standard. We're aware of it. Our eyes are wide open to it. Shire's had an incredible year as a coach. I don't know if I'd have him as National Coach of the Year. I think if I had a Final Four of like him, Dusty May, Fred Hoiberg, and Tommy Lloyd, I'd feel pretty good about it. And any of those four winning it would be fine with me. But I don't know. I just have to credit the job he's done with that, and the fact that we've been worried about Duke in close games, like if they need a basket, but he's kind of acquitted himself incredibly well on these after timeout plays this year. And so perhaps that will actually be an advantage for Duke.
Yeah, and even in the loss to UNC, I did not really think that the plays they were running were bad. If you're going to ISO somebody, you should ISO Boozer. You should get him going downhill. And at some point, it is just like, okay, the opponent made a play. That's okay. That happens. It's not like people were very critical of that setup at the time. And the more I've thought about it, the more I've been like, well, what? We don't need him to run Princeton here. It's not rocket science. Give the ball to the best player in college basketball and let him do something.
Yep. So he got him going towards his right hand. I remember last year that was a big thing. Like one of the late plays with Flag was he's on the left side of the court going left. And they had Boozer going down the right side against Carolina, and Vasar just had a pretty good challenge. I'm sure Duke fans would maybe claim it was a foul. It was a toss-up kind of play there at the rim and just didn't quite go. And I know they haven't played a lot of close games, but I actually kind of believe they'll make the play they need in one NCAA tournament game this year.
So 2 things on Duke really quick. One, since New Year's Day, it is really funny to think back on when there's the minor freak out about their defense because of a couple of bad games. Yeah. So since New Year's Day, these are just rankings. Obviously, first overall at Torvik. Third offensively, first defensively. By pure adjusted rating per 100 possessions, plus 40.9 per 100.
That's ridiculous. I mean, that's why they're adjusted efficiency margin. I mean, that's raw against ACC teams, and now their adjusted margin at Ken Palm is over 40. First team since 1999 Duke to do that.
Here is their lone stat that is not in the top half nationally. And you could argue this is a good stat to have. 353rd in three-point attempt rate allowed. That's the only thing where they're not above average nationally. They're above average in free throw rate, positive turnover margin. Since New Year's Day, plus 12 per 100 on the boards. I don't know. I did write a whole thing in the watch list this year about how Shire's Duke is just not hateable like K's Duke was. And I anticipated getting some pushback, and I just didn't. I wonder if we're all kind of... Maybe this will be the case if they make the Final Four again and they're playing Houston again. But like, I'm kind of okay with Duke this year. It's fine if they win it.
I think if they win a title, suddenly the people will find the hatred in their hearts again. Mm-hmm. But right now, like Cameron Boozer's entirely inoffensive as a star. Like I'm not worried about him. This isn't like the hateable, I'm saying in air quotes, of JJ Redick. I think this is a totally fun team. Slim Evans is a fun shooter. Nobody on their roster has like a cruddy attitude that I watch. I don't know. There's nobody tripping players out there. So that's good for the Blue Devils.
That is the thing. They don't really have a villain. Can they win a title without a villain?
Ooh, maybe that's what did him in last year. Too likable. Duke's got to find the edge and start,
Could Malik Brown punch somebody?
He should.
It doesn't seem like he has that in him. But and we're not talking about like something really nasty that knocks somebody out for multiple games. Just like you've seen the ones where it's like benches clearing brawl and somebody gets punched in the neck or whatever.
Yeah. He doesn't need to like Silvio De Sousa somebody with a chair.
Just like 1 game suspension. You can miss 16 seed Mount St. Mary's or whatever.
Yeah, do it in the ACC tournament final. I love it. That's a great idea.
I think that might be the final. If they have a villain, that I am actually picking Duke, and I'm not looking back.
Perfect. Okay, to you for your second statistic.
This is 33, and this is, again, I was on the Tourney cast earlier. It's that time of year, and I was surprised both by how many and how few here. The number of teams that are 99% or higher to get into the field at Torvik as I record. I thought it would be a little more. And to the credit of that, like NC State's 98.5%, UCF 97.3%. It'd be pretty shocking if any of those miss. But I did go back through his 10 years of having the TourneyCast tool. A couple of teams who were at 98% or higher did miss. NC State in 2019, MTSU in 2018, which I did not recall them being such a lock.
Wow.
But
Yeah. I don't
the
either.
more I'm thinking back, I think they were. I have a feeling that for that year, MTSU was almost in like an FAU style position where they were projected at like a 9, and then they lost like 2 or 3 games late and blew it.
Okay. That would make sense.
Uh,
Hey, I'm just pumped to see my Missouri Tigers almost in this group. How
yeah,
about that?
95.5. So
Yeah.
we're if no bid stealers happen from the Power 5 and the other big 3 mid majors, which we're going to see about that. We know 25 of our 37 at-large teams at a minimum right now. So I guess picking from this list, and I'll advise you to pull it up on your end, sort by the N percentage. What is the highest percentile team on here, and name the percentage with it, that you would actually pick to miss the field of 68?
Okay. I'm looking at the tourney cast right now. Man, Indiana at 53.6 certainly jumps out to me. Yeah, I think I'd go with them. I feel okay about UCLA. Begrudgingly, I feel good about Texas at this point. I could see Ohio State still missing it, though, if they were to lose out.
I am going to say, just based on a quick look here, man, yeah, this is not as easy as I thought it'd be. I would pick of these. I tell you, I can see, as crazy as it sounds, SMU being left out, 83.4%. That's not a very impressive resume. They're 43rd in wins above bubble, 43rd at Torvik, 39th at KenPom.
It's dicier. I think
Yeah.
like 2 weeks ago in my bubble watch at the Athletic, I almost moved them up to should be in, and then I relooked and was like, no, I can't, I can't do that. This team is squarely a bubble team, and they've got to finish. The fun one would be if Ohio State on Wednesday, so tonight when people are listening to this, if they lose at Penn State, if they pull in Iowa and lose in Happy Valley, and then the season-ending game is Ohio State hosting Indiana on Saturday, which is like is that a win and you're in? Is it a loser leaves town type of game? It might be both of those things, and that excites me. Yeah, I guess the Big Ten tournament gives them a little bit of leeway, but I would love for that game to be two teams that are like fully 50-50 to get in.
I'm dreaming of the loser of that game playing their way out. We don't need both of those teams in. We just don't.
No, absolutely not. Okay, I'll take it for my second. I love that little bubble summary there, especially like like I said, I write the bubble watch for the Athletic, and I was checking against my numbers. I've got 36 in the should be in area, and I believe the ones you didn't hit are Missouri, Georgia, NC State, or Missouri and NC State, maybe. So, and UCF. So I've got those as like closer to in the field. So we're kind of on the same page, and I've been using TourneyCast as a nice guiding light. So. All right, second number is plus 53.6. That is UConn's net rating in clutch time per CVB Analytics. 61 minutes this year. It's the number 3 ranking in Power 5, behind only Arizona and question mark Miami, Florida. That one kind of shocked me. A really good crunch time team, apparently. Only 2 other teams beside those 3 are even plus 40 per 100 possessions. And reminder, UConn plus 53.6. Vandy and Michigan are also up there. It's hard to say if they're like bored in the Big East and then they're turning it on late, or is this just a well-coached team that knows how to finish? They're over 60% in effective field goal percentage in that clutch time, and they are dominating the free throw line. They have 59 more free throw attempts than their opponents. That's by far the best nationally. Now, I think that could be skewed by the sample. Like they're probably like holding a lead in a lot of these games, so they're getting fouled to go to the line to make free throws. I'm guessing that's skewing the free throw thing. But what do you think? Is this more UConn is a really good team late because they're well coached, or this is a board team that can actually kind of flip a switch and will be better in the NCAA tournament?
Kind of think it's the latter.
Okay. Yeah,
I think they're a little bored. I think it's like, I both think that they're quite good and quite overrated. A little bit of both, because so when you dive into the data further, they do get way more free throw attempts than their opponents late in these games. And I agree with you. I think this is because they're probably, I feel like every time I've turned a UConn game on this year, excuse me, every time I've turned a UConn game on this year, they've been up by between 3 and 6 in the final minute.
Yep.
But on these free throws, their opponents are shooting 57% from the line.
That's not very good.
I kind of think there's a little bit of good fortune here, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at UConn's full season numbers, they're 282nd in offensive free throw rate and 291st in defensive. Like, they typically are a team that shoots less free throws than their opponent. So for them to dominate that differential in crunch time, I think, like I said, probably has a little bit to do with taking or being in the lead and getting fouled because teams are trying to come back on them. But also, it's pretty solid late game execution. I think that's not too shocking for anybody that's watched them play offense for the last 5 years with Hurley and Luke Murray and Kamani Young on the sideline there. So
yeah,
I would
say they're good.
UConn
obviously,
still.
They're obviously very good, but 10-1 in close games does require some luck to go with it.
Yep. I mean, there's an complete inevitability that who's the one seed most likely to lose is going to be UConn because the other three are just so head and shoulders above the rest. Hopefully that question people will be like, who of the top three is the most likely to lose? Because that's actually a compelling question and makes somebody stand on an opinion rather than just giving UConn as the standard rote answer. So we'll see how that happens as the NCAA tournament approaches, especially if UConn does in fact lock in that fourth one seed.
Who is your 8 or 9 seed that Seth Davis will pick to beat UConn?
Oh gosh, it's got to be the Missouri Tigers. No, pulling it up right now. Wisconsin's above a 7 in bracket matrix or above an 8 in bracket matrix, but they've been such a giant killer. It would be kind of fun to see them potentially do it.
How about a little shout out to Miami, Florida? I think that's got a little bit of Seth vibes to it.
Yeah, the two-way dominant rebounding team. I just mentioned they're one of the top 5 clutch time teams in the country, which shocked me. But yeah, they could do it. Maybe SLU. Maybe Seth loves SLU. I don't know.
Hurley Mania. Oh my God, those boys are going to have a field day with this.
Oh, well, we'll find out. Okay, to you for stat number 3.
This is with all quadrant 4 games removed. So it's cheating a little bit because the team involved here did take an abhorrent loss. But 24th, Santa Clara's ranking at Torvik with all Q4 games removed. I find this important because this is ahead of some pretty notable teams. BYU, 25th, North Carolina, 27th, even St. Mary's at 33rd. So against teams of note and against like real competition, Santa Clara has played like a 6 seed. Now, are they going to be seeded 6? Obviously not. It is an open question if they make the tournament, period. I think at minimum, they have to play St. Mary's in the semis. And arguably, they have to beat St. Mary's in the semis to feel safe. If they lost close, they might be okay, depending on what the rest of the crowd does. But even then, I don't know. Just win the damn game and be safe. Like, don't make us worry. But I bring this up because this is a team that's probably, assuming they get in, going to be an 11 or maybe a 10. I do have this fear that if they get in as a 10, they're going to pair him with SLU. And then just like do the committee thing of eliminating one or the other, like that. Or Utah State or whatever.
Yeah, the San Francisco Murray State of a few years back. Yep.
That, or the other thing I mentioned in the conference tournament preview was my fear that they'll send them to Dayton, they'll be in, but they'll play New Mexico, which would also be a nightmare.
Yep. Yeah, just putting the two mid-majors against each other, and hey, we guarantee to get one out of here.
But I find them really intriguing because they have huge shot volume numbers 2 ways. And I put this in the conference tournament preview, but teams with this is John Gassoway's shot volume index, +7 or higher, 10 and 11 seeds, 13 and 10 in the round of 64 since 2002.
Okay.
That's crazy good for a double-digit seed. So,
yeah.
I mean, they tag is very similar to Drake from last year or from a few years ago. Like, I mean, Wichita State in 2016-17 that nearly toppled Kentucky in the second round. I really want them to get in, and it's getting to the point of me being a little too happy for them, to find them too likable. Maybe I need to you got to put the old cup on and step back a little bit. But
they're a tricky team, man. You kind of mentioned the bubble case. Like, you got to have that St. Mary. If you get triple swept by St. Mary's, Oh wait, no, they did beat St. Mary's once. I apologize.
Yeah.
To
So
Santa
so
Clara.
this would technically be going for the series win.
Yep, and that would be their, I think, second win over a team that's at large quality. Like that's kind of the tricky thing for them. They're the ultimate wins above bubble case study because in the non-con their best wins are Minnesota at a neutral, at Xavier, McNeese at home. Like none of those are going to impress a committee member or a casual fan on the surface, but wins above bubble has them right around 40th and in the field. So do you accept what that number tells you about the entirety of their profile and all their games? Or do you kind of cherry pick the 1Q1 wins, 0Q1A wins? They're not beating tournament teams. That's kind of the dilemma there. I support that kind of team. Mind Ohio's the jumbo deluxe example of it. That's what that stat is for, to capture all the games because human minds can't, and a number actually does capture that. So
I like the phrasing of jumbo deluxe.
yeah,
That'll be
yeah,
the new McDonald's menu.
my friend used to call things like the deluxe holy shit package. So that's Miami.
I love it. Alan Graves is the deluxe holy shit package. So some statistical comps in my database here for them. 2010 Washington made the Sweet 16. 2010 Mizzou won a game. The other big one that does make a little bit of sense to me, though kind of flipped on which side of the ball is stronger, is it's either the first or second Will Wade VCU team because he only had two. Whatever one it was that beat, I think, Texas Tech in the round of 64.
Okay. That sounds
and then went on to
familiar-ish.
lose to Buddy Hield, Oklahoma. But all three of those teams won a game. Of your top three comps, that's pretty good.
Yeah, get them in, and they'll perform. I would like to see them play a little better competition out of conference and see what happens. Sometimes these conference teams are so familiar with each other that they don't look quite as great on the biggest stage. All right, what should I go with for my third stat? Here's a couple different options. I'll go here. How about 45.1%? Well, that is Texas Tech's 3-point percentage in 3 games without JT Toppin. And I am impressed by what they've done. It is incredible. They're 3-0 straight up against the spread. They won at Hilton Magic in Ames, and they've adjusted their style. They're playing a lot more 4-out. Bamgoy has given them actual real defensive resistance at the rim, but their defense is outside the top 100 since February 20th over those 2 weeks. It's been about their offense and how incredible Anderson and Atwell have been. I'm a little still skeptical of the Renaissance. And this is a team that plays tonight as we're recording, Tuesday, last night for those that are listening. Maybe they drop one to TCU or play a really close one because the shots don't fall. But I got to be a little skeptical because no team's going to shoot 45% from 3.
Yeah, and it does really run to their strength because they take so many threes to begin with. They've been. This is a great shooting team. Don't get me wrong; they're almost at 40 on the year, but to me, like being plus 8% from the 3-point line over a year-long sample, you're playing with fire a bit. I mean, you narrow it down to the last 10 games. Like, yeah, over the last 10 games, they've looked like a top 6, top 7 team, but they're also plus 10% from 3 while, losing the turnover battle by 4.5 per 100 possessions. I don't like what I see there. I have a Texas Tech stat here in a minute, but I like this team. I want them to go far. And the good news for them is they've kind of saved their shot at a protected seed. Like I can't envision, short of losing out, I can't envision them dropping below a 4 anymore. And that's with like the quote unquote Toppin penalty applied.
Right. And I don't think they deserve a Toppin penalty based on the results. Like make them prove they deserve a penalty. And at this point they haven't.
I thought it was pretty sick that he held up the 10 for the 10 seed or whatever it was.
Yes, McCaslin razzing him a little bit there. That was great. The trick with them, like I have a hard time saying this is a great shooting team because it's really they just have 2 great shooters. It's Atwell, it's Anderson, and those guys have been absolutely lights out since Toppin went down. Especially Atwell. I mean, he's making like 6 threes. He's going 6 for 10 every game. Petty's been really good. He's given them a supplement, but Petty's the only the third guy on the team that's made more than 22 threes. Like they don't have a fourth shooter really. Even him as a third shooter is only decent. So it comes down to our Anderson and Atwell. Like if those two have a game where they combine to go 3 for 20 from 3, they could get absolutely dumped on by somebody. And Maybe it's not going to happen against TCU or BYU to end the year, but I keep an eye on it in the Big 12, and it's a high variance team come NCAA tournament time.
They have a little bit of vibes to me of, I don't know, that like it's funny that we've been talking about Santa Clara so much, because if it's like 11 seed Santa Clara and 3 seed Tech in the round of 32, that's an upset I could easily envision. But if it was Tech versus, they're a very weird team to me, where like if they were playing a 6 seed or a 2 in the Sweet 16, I'd feel really comfortable about picking them to an extent. Like if they drew like Florida, then no. But if they're playing like an 11 and maybe even that first round game, depending on what type of 14 they get, because like the committee is the committee. I feel like every year we have a 14 seed that should have been a 13 or maybe even a 12.
Yeah,
What
absolutely.
if that's their team? It probably won't be, and they'll probably. I'd be shocked if they don't win at least one game. But I don't know. I can see. It's weird because with Toppin, I was like, let's just pencil them into the Elite Eight. Without Toppin, I'm still like, well, they can make the Elite Eight, but now I think they could drop it, depending to who they play in the round of 32. And I truly don't know which is more likely.
Yeah, I think they're a lot more draw dependent, like you said, and range of outcomes is wider. Toppin just gave you such a rock knowing you're getting like 22 and 12 against even good teams. And now it's a little more reliant on jump shooting, and they have two elite jump shooters. Don't get me wrong, Tech fans. I just sometimes those guys don't have the greatest day, and you've only got a couple of them. So, okay, back to you, Will. We'll start the hit the crest of the mountain with our fourth numbers.
Well, I'm going to promote this piece until it kills me. So 7. Let me get my 7 up here. That's the number of conference tournament champions decided before you and I record next Tuesday. We'll just do. I don't want any analysis. I want straight vibes picks, and this is dependent on you remembering who's in these conferences, because I don't, and remembering who is even eligible. So in order: Ohio Valley, Big South, Missouri Valley, ASUN, Summit League, which moved to Sunday night this year. Very interesting. Good for them. SoCon and Sunbelt.
Okay, so you just name the conference, and I'll give you my pick.
Okay. Well, I'll do the same. So Ohio Valley.
SEMO, baby.
I'm going SEMO too. I kind of like them the
All
most
right.
of my options. All right, Big South.
This is High Point. I think I know this is not a betting show, but they've gone from like minus 130 to minus 300. I think it's because Duncombe got hurt for Winthrop, and that has skewed the odds a lot.
It's clearly them. I don't see or understand why you would pick anybody else, barring like some sort of weird injury or sequence of events happening. The Big South used to produce some really weird outcomes, but I don't feel like it has in some time.
Yeah, High Point found money. I think that's what helped.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, some would say. Let's see, Missouri Valley, Arch Madness.
I've had a hell of a time with this league trying to decide what I think is going to happen. I think Belmont has clearly earned the title of best team, and they've like only lost really close games. But I don't think I'm going to pick them to win. I'm going to give it to Northern Iowa, Will, a team that's comfortable in the muck. They play super slow. They're a top 25 defense, and they've been a different team with Tristan Smith back looking healthier. So Purple Panthers for me.
Yeah, that shit sucks, because I was going to pick Northern Iowa too. Now I feel like I can't. I'll zag and I will say Belmont. I am not even close to pretending like that's something I fully believe in. I don't know. I want this team in the field bad because I think they could spring an upset. And usually it does feel to me, speaking of wackiness in other conferences, it feels like every other year Arch Madness goes a little haywire. Last year mostly went to script because I think it was Drake versus the 2 or 3 seed in the final.
Something like that. Well, and then 2 years ago we had the Shirts Indiana State team against Tucker DeVries and Drake. That was like the good 1-2 game that came down to the wire. But so yeah, maybe they are due for chaos.
I really hope not. But like, if we look up in a few days and it's like, oh, UIC and Northern Iowa are playing for the Missouri Valley bid, it's like, yeah, that's about right.
Yep, agreed.
ASUN.
Another one that's pandemonium, the most efficient conference in the country. So it's just all offense. It's gonna be a bunch of 90 to 85 games. And I'll go with the vibes of the team that has, I think, the best offense in the league. Give me Queens. Give me Queens, Will.
Ooh. I don't like any of these teams. Give me Austin P.
Okay.
Got no reason. I just think it'd be funny if we had fatigues wearing Corey Gibson on the March stage. I think that'd be good for everybody.
If they pulled off an upset and he's the post-game interview, like getting into the camera, like we serve, we bring service. It's like, all right, man, take the Army fatigues off.
I think it's like kind of broken through to people that like, so Clarksville, Tennessee is pretty close to Fort Campbell and has a pretty big military community. So the people in Clarksville actually really like it. But literally anyone outside of this like 90,000 person city in Tennessee thinks it is the weirdest thing to ever happen because he was not a military member, did not serve, and never did this at Northwestern State.
Yeah, it's crazy. But hey, I think it's smart. Lean into your fan base and get them excited however you can.
Yeah, you might as well.
That's good background. That's why you're my Tennessee guy.
Exactly. Oh, do you hear the cat food dropping? This is a very exciting moment on the podcast.
It wasn't that loud, but I caught it a little bit.
I think we should leave that in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Summit League.
I'm a Tommy man. Come on, St. Thomas.
Tommy's as well. This is not. Now let me look. Okay, yes, this is a league where half the games are on a service nobody has. So best of luck if you want to watch literally any of the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I hate that.
We had a discussion internally about if we should or shouldn't get a Midco Sports account, and I think Majewski or Rocco Miller told us don't do it.
Just said it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, they were just like, it's whatever money we spend, you won't be happy.
Sad but true. It might even be worse than Baller TV or Flow Hoops.
Flow. Ooh. All right, SoCon.
Okay, I picked them in the preseason, and I kind of like to just run it back with my preseason pick if they're playing well. So I'm going to go Samford. I think they have started to play well under Lenny Acuff lately.
I like this pick. The SoCon, per my memory, is not one that usually goes haywire. It did last year. Now I remember it was like, well, it was 4 versus 6 for the title or something like that.
Yeah, we had like that Wofford team went on the run. I don't remember what seed they were last year.
So I'll zag this year and I'll say ETSU gets it done. Not super confident in that, but I don't know. They seem like the best of a fairly similar bunch of mid to me.
Yeah. And Mercer's been playing decently well. Yeah, last year Wofford won, and they're the 6th seed, and thankfully Chattanooga then gave us that incredible NIT championship game. So hat tip to them.
Delicious. All right, the most fun one of all, the Sunbelt Ladder. Who do you got?
I've gone back and forth from thinking about it from like a betting perspective for an Action Network preview, from a pool play perspective for this conference tournament pool that I'm in. But I'm gonna be chalky with the Ladder and go Troy, the only team that had 6 losses in the league versus that 6-way tie. They only got to win 2 games. I wish Theo Sang was healthy, but I'll go Troy.
So last year, the first year of this, it was 3 versus 4 for the title, but those were the 2 best teams, Troy and Arkansas State. This year, I kind of feel like the 3 best teams are 1, 4, and 7. So Troy, Arkansas State, and then App in the middle. I'm going to go App. I don't love my pick, but this is just like, I think it's going to be really hard unless you've got DJ Burns on your roster to win 5 games in 5 days. Just statistically really tough to do. But 3 in 3 days is not that hard. Any conference tournament is difficult, don't get me wrong, but 3 in 3 is just so much less wear and tear on the body than 5 in 5. So
and they play so slow that
I don't think they'll get fatigued in the way that like an Arkansas State would. So I'm going to go App, and I don't know, we'll see. That is easily the most fascinating of these to me, and I'm going to record a message right here. Sunbelt. Is there Keith Gill? Is that the guy?
He's the commissioner for the selection committee.
Because he was vice? He was vice chair in the selection committee last year, and he had the whole thing like he had to go on with Bubba. Keith, do not give in to the haters. Don't do it. Keep this format. You will be rewarded one day, because there will be a year down the line where the Sun Belt produces a 16-2 team that wins the league by 3 games, and you're going to be really happy you protected them.
Yep. Rather than the the neutral site, 8 teams, barely any advantage for the 1 seed.
Mhm.
Okay. Keith, you heard it here first. Resist.
Mhm.
#resist.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is it? Then he persisted, or still he persisted. That would be good for him.
Yes. Yep. Okay, I'm going to do kind of an offshoot of that. My number is 4, and that is the number of conference tournaments where the odds or the probability that the winner is like much greater than 50%. We mentioned the Big South with High Point, but then 3 others that will not end before we record next time. The NEC, LIU is the kind of clear best team there. Patriot, Navy is far and away the best team in that league. And then the WCC, Gonzaga only has to win 2, doesn't have to face St. Mary's or Santa Clara to the final. So I know we like chaos in conference tourneys, but when one team is that much better than the field, I really want them to win. And High Point, as we just mentioned with tournaments, they don't really get much of an edge in format. It's a 18 or a, they have to win 3 games on a neutral site in a state that has no teams from this league. It's bizarre that the Big South plays in Johnson City. At least Navy and LIU get reseeding and home court all the way through. I love that at the mid-major level. The reseeded tournaments, like it's Navy, I don't think the Patriot reseeds.
Does the America East go home? I feel like they still do
Yes.
home court, right? Yeah.
Yep. You get that Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern game for the final. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, looking through these, High Point obviously jumps out as an easy pick. Navy, I'm really hoping they get it done. They've just been so clearly the best team in that league. I will admit to being a little indifferent on the NEC. Just feels like the least essential conference in Division I athletics. And I don't mean that to be mean. It's just like statistically, prior to Fairleigh Dickinson, it was the least essential conference. And
are you aware of the NEC tournament quirk?
Yeah, it's Lemoyne and Mercyhurst.
If the final is Lemoyne and Mercyhurst, yeah. I'm sure this was in your written preview that I owe a read to. But if those 2 play in the final, the conference has to scramble and schedule an emergency title game between the losers of the semis because neither one is eligible for the final. So the semifinalists.
Please God, just do that shit. That'd be awesome.
Incredible.
Well, okay, so what would happen then if it's like 3 versus 5 or something? Like, I don't know who's 3 and who's 5, but Lemoyne versus like Fairleigh Dickinson or something.
I think Fairleigh Dickinson gets the bid, like as the loser, and that would be lame. So,
but that's how they got it in 2023. Don't forget.
Yep, that's how they did not win the conference tournament the year they beat Purdue in the first round of the NCAA tournament.
Howard being this severe of a fave in the MEAC is wild to me, and they are clearly the best team there, I think. But they're like 70% to win it is nuts for any MEAC team.
Yeah, I'm not sure I fully buy it being that strong. But they are, let's see, they are 120 spots better in KenPom than the second best team in the league. Jesus. So it's been a differentiator of sorts there. They've still got one more regular season game to play, so we don't have the official bracket, but they are far and away the best team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's it. Just wanted to discuss those ones with the heavy favorites. And unfortunately, outside of LIU, I want all of them to win. LIU is a little more indifferent to me. But okay, back to you for stat number 5.
So I have back-to-back, and I'll split these up. But these both involve combined rebounding and turnover differential in quadrant 1, quadrant 2 games only. So the first number is 5. These are your top 4 in this stat. And I'll count the total differential next to them. So number 1, Arizona, plus 222 in combined rebound and turnover differential in 21 quad 1, quad 2 games. Florida, plus 211 and 22. Duke, plus 182 and 21. Michigan, plus 179 and 23. No surprises. Who would you guess is number 5?
So I'm trying to think about who would shock me here. Michigan State doesn't force turnovers. I know Miami's a sneaky, really good rebounding team.
Number 6 and number 12 for what it's worth. The teams you just listed.
All right, so we're at least in the right ballpark. I'm not even pulling up a list of teams to see if I can come up with somebody who's really good rebounding. I know Houston's elite at turnover margin, so I'll guess them.
Tennessee.
Oh, there they are.
This dumb fucking team. Tennessee is plus 169 in 20 games. At the weekend, they if I recall correctly, it ran up one of the greatest rebounding margins in SEC history and lost to Alabama somehow. I'm trying to find Ken's stat on it real quick. Tennessee is on track to be like a top 5 offensive rebounding team in history. They would have the highest offensive rebounding percentage since 2001 Michigan State, which is the team after the team that won it all. They would have the highest of any team in the last 15 years by more than a full percent. Tennessee's getting back 45.4% of their missed shots. So I bring this to you because as a fan and a sometimes smart person, sometimes very unhappy one, especially Saturday evening, when I said some things to Don Daly that I wasn't very proud of. This is a team I can't really figure out what to do with. Some days I like them, and some days I want to kick them like a little dog many yards over. I asked this because Tennessee, along with us, for quad 1 through 3 games only, 13th nationally at Torvik. They're one of only 2 teams in the KenPom top 25 with 9 or more losses, Louisville being the other. Louisville's is a little more explicable. They just lose to the good teams and beat the bad ones, and they can really run up the score on bad ones. Tennessee's not as easy to dissect because they have some great wins and only one real blowout loss I'm recalling, the Florida game. Even Illinois was close until the final couple of minutes. Weird team to try and make sense of because 1, most likely a 5 seed, and 2, as a 5 seed, based on the numbers, going to be favored to make the Sweet 16. So as a neutral observer, how much do you read into this massive rebounding edge and even turnover edge lately they're running up on opponents? And do you think that's enough to save them to I've ruled out a Final Four, don't worry, I'm not that stupid, but to get them 4 straight Sweet 16s? As a fan, that's my goal.
I think they can get there. I mean, first of all, get round the clock ice baths on Nate Amon's ankle, the high ankle sprain. I'm just glad that's all it was. Based on,
I thought it was a season ender when it happened.
Yep, and a couple people in I think it was the Athletic Slack joke that it was he's like Gumby. He's got the legs that bend back. I remember when Giannis almost tore his ACL in the 2021 NBA playoffs, and I thought he was done. So I'm happy that your talented, lanky 3/4 man is fine, or should be fine.
What was the it's Phineas and Ferb, right? If I had a nickel for every time a Tennessee player had a horrific looking knee injury that turned out to be not bad at all, I'd have 2 nickels, which is weird that it's happened twice between him and Stella this year.
Yeah, exactly. I like that they are so consistent in shot volume because they're playing a tough game in math in the shooting department. They're really low in 3-point attempt rate on offense, and they give a ton of threes on defense. So they're a little bit prone there. Now, some of the 3-point defense is because they're so hard to score at inside, and that's part of the Rick Barnes scheme is like you have to shoot over the top, make jumpers. Good luck. We've got length. We'll get down the rebound if you take them. To me, Tennessee feels like despite some of the erratic results, the high floor, low ceiling type team where I think they can get to the Sweet 16. And if they run into any of Michigan, Florida, Duke, Arizona, then they're going home, and that's okay. And as long as they can make it there, you feel all right.
They remind me a lot of like some of the Huggins, West Virginia teams that would run up huge shot volume edges. And then they'd play like not the one year they did beat them, but like when they played 38-1 Kentucky and they lost by 40. I think Tennessee could do that. I think we could lose by 40 after defeating a 12 and a 4.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. No, that wasn't the year that Deshaun Butler had the like heartbreaking knee injury.
That was the year they beat Kentucky. He had the knee.
Oh thing. Yeah, okay.
Like this was like 38-1 Kentucky. All I remember is like I got home from some school event and the game was over 8 minutes in.
Oh, I remember this because I believe West Virginia had like either 0 or 1 2-pointers in the first half.
Yes.
And it was like, when does that ever happen? They finished with 39 points on 64 possessions. So yeah, it was ugly. Okay. I will go number 5 here. I'm going to stay in the SEC. Plus 3.7 is my number. And unfortunately, this is a flip side of the result that Will just talked about. But this is the most wins above bubble accumulated since February 2nd. I know it's an arbitrary date. Shh, don't say anything about that. But 3 teams are tied with plus 3.7 WAP since then. Michigan, Florida, and 8-0 Alabama, who has somehow not lost a game. It turns out Charles Bediako is not the key to your season. It's really just Aiden Sherrill playing well and getting a slightly healthier backcourt. Sherrill's been excellent, by the way, but Tide have picked up wins at Tennessee, at Auburn, versus Arkansas, trending way up in seeding. They're kind of like 3-ish, 4-ish right now. But I'm still skeptical, Will. This is not a me crowning the ass moment right here. I still think the defense is going to be a flaw come the postseason. It's just a team that is built for this kind of SEC, which has like no front courts besides Tennessee's offensive rebounding and Florida's. And they had absolutely no prayer against Florida. I mean, they got murdered in the paint. I think they gave up like 72 paint points against Florida or something like that. So I'm still very skeptical of Alabama, but I will give them a little bit of flowers for the 8-0 month that they had in February.
Yeah, it turns out that Charles Bediako was the governor on the golf cart. I just needed to remove him, and then they were off to the races.
Yeah.
I'm not fully sold either. So the last 10 games, they are shooting 80% from the line. Opponents are shooting 67%. They're also plus 5% from 3. I don't know that I can really trust that. Also, somehow, this is, over their last 10, the only team in America worse than Illinois at forcing turnovers. So I don't love reading that. But all that being said, I kind of think we should stop talking about them as maybe a 3 and just put them at a 3, because the resume is really good. I mean, they're going to close probably. We'll see how the Georgia game goes. That does seem like a real coin flippy thing. But even if they go 1-1 here, that's still, 8 Q1 wins. I think it'd be 8-1 against Quadrant 2. They'd have a top 12-ish resume in the sport. I'd be fine with putting them on the 3 line. I don't think that'd be a problem. They have had a strange season to me, though, where in games against top 50 competition, some of the underlying stuff doesn't look as bad as it reads on the top line. Like they're plus 7% from 2. They've outshot opponents. They get about the same number of free throws. They keep turnovers low. But in terms of defensive efficiency, they are 123rd in the nation against top 50 opponents this year.
It's bad. If you don't force any turnovers and you're not a very good defensive rebounding team and you're not like great protecting the rim, like you can get gashed around there and then teams just get second and third shots.
They'll feed into a point I have coming shortly, but in these games, -8 per 100 on the boards, -3.4 per 100 on turnovers. Look, they've obviously won games. That's great. But the way, just looking at the scores does kind of tell you a lot of the wins. These are their last 5 wins against top 50 opponents, by the way. 83-81, 197, 96-92, 117-115 in 2 overtimes, 71-69. Do you notice anything missing there?
A blowout?
Distance, just any distance. When your largest win is by 4, and that was a 2-point game before the final 10 seconds, that's telling me something. That's telling me, you're clearly a good team because you're winning these games. But arguably, 1, you might be a little lucky in close games. And 2, your formula of, simply outmathing teams is allowing you to create enough distance to essentially be in a coin flip. What happens if you don't hit these shots? Because we know they can't rebound and we know they can't force turnovers.
Yep. What happens if they don't win the coin flip in the NCAA tournament? And they are entirely watchable. Like they're probably one of the best teams in the country to watch. And their non-conference schedule was ridiculous. They played 3 games outside the top 150. One was a semi-home game against Kennesaw and Huntsville. One was a return game of a home-and-home with North Dakota that they played for Grant Nelson. And the other was UTSA, which has former Alabama assistant Austin Claunch as the coach. So, he's not fattening up on cupcakes. He never has, Nate Oates. And that has put them in a ton of huge games this year. But I still think the defense will bite them a little bit in around the Sweet 16 or maybe even around to 32, depending on who they get.
I was going to say, they strike me as whatever their seed is exactly how many games they're going to win. So 3 or 4 seed, Sweet 16, no further. Because it has yet to be really suggested to me that they can scale up with the big boys. So they really want that 3 bad, because obviously you would much rather play this year's batch of 2s than this year's batch of 1s, especially being in the SEC, meaning you won't have to play Florida no matter where they're at, because they'll be in a different region.
Yep. Look, I think they've played, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games against KenPom top 20. And that's, location non-specific. 8 games. They beat Arkansas in 2 OT, Tennessee by 2, and then lost the other 6. So it's scaling up is difficult for them. All right, to you for number 6.
So this is 4. This is the number of top 25 teams in the net. This is just using CBB analytics. So use whatever number you want. I don't give a shit. With a negative rebound and turnover differential combined this season against quadrant 1 and quadrant 2 opponents. Alabama's 1. Can you guess any of the other 3?
So top 25 in the net and a shot volume disadvantage. Let's see here. Iowa State's so good at forcing turnovers. Arkansas?
Not Arkansas.
Not Arkansas. Nebraska?
No, I will say that's 2 Big 12, 1 ACC.
Okay. ACC. Gosh, I don't think it's Virginia. North Carolina?
UNC.
Okay, they're the ACC team. And Big 12, BYU?
Texas Tech and Kansas.
Oh, that's right. We kind of talked to Kansas as like a horrendous shot volume team.
Yeah, so I don't think that these are like truly dire things. Like you can overcome it with Alabama had a negative shot volume last year and made the Elite Eight, so it's not impossible. But of the teams post-COVID to meet this criteria, and actually I misread this, Alabama had a positive rebound and turnover differential last year against quad 1 and quad 2. For whatever reason, they struggled with quad 3 and quad 4. I don't know. 15 top 25 teams have met this criteria post-COVID. None of them have made a Final Four. Only one, 22-23 Creighton, made the Elite Eight. And that was the wonkiest tournament of all time. So I feel also Creighton, if I'm remembering, got the benefit of playing a 15 seed in the Sweet 16.
Does help. That's certainly a bonus.
Yeah, maybe you get lucky and you get the right draw, but if I were to try and pick some of the higher teams that I'm selling on, these 4 would be a good start. Obviously, injuries are going to help you sell against them, like Texas Tech is not at full strength. Caleb Wilson seems like he's going to be back for important play, but maybe not at 100%. Darren Peterson is essentially always day-to-day. So we're going to see in all of those. But if I were looking for some teams to be like, I don't really trust them because I don't know that they have a plan if shots don't fall, it would be those 4.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, obviously one of those teams can go far when the shots go, but you're so subject to it. And what happens when you get punched in the mouth? Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth, as they say. Okay, my 6th number is 15. And that is the most losses ever for an at-large team by 2017 Vandy, 2018 Alabama, 2019 Florida. And all those teams entered Selection Sunday 19 and 15. So 4 games above 500. Auburn is 15 and 14 right now. I know they have played a tough schedule, but their wins above bubble is actually super borderline right now. It's at 0.1, at 47th in the country, like squarely on the cut line. And to get to 4 games over 500, they would need to win 4 in a row, 2 now to end the regular season, then 2 in the SEC tournament, and then take their 15th loss at the end of that. They've lost 7 of 8. I don't think this team is going to win 4 in a row. So either we're going to see something unprecedented with a 16-loss at-large team, or we're going to see Auburn miss the field, or they get in at like 17 and 15, which would also be pretty unprecedented.
We just don't need them in. I think it's as simple as that.
Agreed.
We don't need them in. I'm always sympathetic to the argument of the really hard strength of schedule because there are teams that simply play. I always, not that you have to hand it to evil institutions, but Alabama always schedules really hard. Hat tip to them. That one of the very best in all of sports at scheduling hard. And Auburn did a really good job of scheduling hard this year. I do have sympathy for the fact that They, Stephen Pearl took over this team in less than ideal circumstances, we'll say, had a less than optimal star player to build around. I also don't care. At some point, you got to win the games on your schedule. Like, to me, it's as simple as that. I don't think I wasn't as swayed last year by the argument against Oklahoma with the 6-12 conference record because, like, yes, on one sense, sure, but on another, that was in statistically the greatest conference ever constructed in college basketball history. And also, they went undefeated in non-conference play and got multiple really great wins. That argument didn't really hold sway to me. Auburn didn't perform well in the non-conference, and they're gonna, I think, have to play on Wednesday in the SEC tournament.
Yep.
Why are they close?
Yeah, the death knell for me was the home loss to Mississippi. Like, your whole thing until now had been you won the games you're supposed to win, and you've lost the tough ones. But home loss to Mississippi is borderline Q2, Q3. We'll see where it lands on Selection Sunday, but it's more the optics of it. Like, you lost the game you absolutely need to be winning, and that's right after losing at Mississippi State, who has been pretty terrible lately. My Mizzou Tigers just beat them by 1,000. And they also lost at Oklahoma, who is a non-tournament team. So if your whole evidence is like, look, we played a really hard schedule, we lost to a bunch of tournament teams, let us in, that has collapsed. And at this point, I think if they don't get to 19 and 15, I don't have any interest in seeing them. So even if they're 18 and 15, no, thank you.
I'm good, period. I'm looking at this list of, wins above bubble teams. It's just really stupid to me. And I'm sure that, some of the smartest people, all sponsored by Kalshi Sports, will let me know in the comments about how wrong I am. That Belmont can take a very tight road loss to Illinois State, and their at-large bid is done at 26-5. Meanwhile, Auburn, with a roughly equivalent wins above bubble at 15-14, is still well in it. Indiana is below Auburn, and they're in the projected field.
They're Indiana 2-11 Q1, 4-12 Q1 Q2.
What are we doing?
I know. That's what I wrote down. Like, if you're not going to get to 19 and 15, you're losing games to non-tournament teams, especially one at home. Like, maybe it answers itself and they finish 16 and 16 and we just don't even have to think about it. But give me New Mexico, give me VCU or a Belmont/Liberty type that didn't have the chances. Unless you are emphatically in with this kind of resume, the 15-loss, 14-loss resume where, like, wins above bubble still has you +2 or something. If you're right in the cut line, you've had your chances, and go ahead and ship on out. That's what I say.
I feel this way about a lot of these teams. Like, do we need USC on the bubble? I don't think so. Do I need to keep tabs on Virginia Tech at this time of the season? God, I hope not. Like, I don't really want to. And the other aspect of this that really drives me nuts, watching last night, 2 days ago, as you were hearing this, NC State put out a nice lifeless turd of a performance against Duke in a gotta-have-it spot with Will Wade looking like a squishmallow on the sidelines. Do we need them in the field?
Yeah, well, we need 8 more teams in the field, Will. That's what we need.
How about Belmont? How about, you know what wouldn't be the worst thing in the world? Oh, oops. Stephen F. Austin lost in the final. Oh, fuck. We got to put both Stephen F. Austin and McNeese in the field. Oh, people would be so torn up over that.
Oh, man. I love that Will texted me before the pod. Like, I might not talk that much. I got a sinus infection. And I think this is the hottest we've ever had.
Well, my headaches just went away 20 minutes ago. And I'm ready to freaking... I can't advertise in this pod except for home field. But whatever those steroids are called that they give you,
Okay.
I'm riding high, baby. I'm like Elon at 3 a.m.
Oh, man. All right. Well, then I'm going to let you tee up your final number here. Let's do that.
All right. 3. This caught me by surprise because I kind of knew this, but I also feel like I didn't. I'm friends with a couple of big A10 fans. They've been mentioning this offhand, and it just didn't register. This is the number of top 60 teams at Torvik from the A10 over the last 2 months. SLU and VCU are obvious. Do you know who the third is?
Okay, I know. Wait, how long is the time horizon?
2 months.
Okay, man, because I know it's not George Mason. That team has taken a cannonball into the deep end of the toilet.
They are lighting a firecracker in their shorts.
Yeah, the one team I know that's playing pretty well recently is Dayton, but they had a bad month before that. So I'm not going to guess Dayton. Is it GW?
You are going to love this answer. St. Joseph's.
Oh man.
Exactly
Okay.
60th.
Wow.
So, since New Year's Day, top 20 defense, 14th in 2-point percentage allowed, fifth in fewest fouls committed. This is one of the greatest unsung coaching jobs of the season for me. So, Steve Donahue had to step in by force, I would say, when Billy Ling left for the NBA. It was certainly not his choice to have to take over this job, and they still can't score. They're 206 in offensive efficiency over the last 2 months, but they have the third best record in the A10 over that time, 11-4. They've been playing almost exactly as well as VCU. They, did not beat SLU or VCU this season, but they've beaten pretty much everybody else in conference play. They beat Dayton at home. They've pulled off a lot of impressive, in-conference wins, have taken care of business. I am very intrigued by them for the A10 tournament because, you mentioned VCU. I did run the numbers at on the Tourney cast, and they're not perfect, but they're a pretty good simulation of what it might look like. If VCU goes 2-0 this week and beats Dayton, I think Friday, they would rise to either 41st or 42nd in WAB. And knowing what we know from last year, where all of the top 42 made the field, I kind of think they'd be in pretty good position to actually steal a bid. So,
Oh, you
remember
going 3-bit A10 and 3-bit A10 on me?
my
Yes,
prediction from October, could it be
yeah.
coming true?
I can't believe how close you got to presenting it, and my brain didn't connect the dots. Oh man, yeah. So you're talking St. Joe's wins the. Do you know where the A10 tournament is, by the way?
I heard it's in Pittsburgh. Is this true?
Yeah. What's going on with
Why
that?
is it not in Atlantic City? I thought that was the
I
permanent spot.
yeah, that's where I thought it
But
belonged as
I
well.
gathered that they were at a different place last year too, right? DC.
Yeah, I think they played in DC last year.
So did
Pittsburgh just
Atlantic
doesn't
City
feel
kick them
right.
out or what?
I don't
We, we
know.
need
I don't
we
know.
need one of the. I feel like the St. Bonaventure fans are always on the forefront of A10 news. We need one of them
Yeah,
to fill
get the
us
guy
in.
who dresses as a beer mug to let us know.
Yes, we need Woj to call in
And
after he hires
yeah,
a new coach.
it's really impressive by St. Joe's also too because like this is just not the Donahue team construction. Typically he's a win with offense guy. It seemed like this roster was a terrible fit. They had some kind of bad performances early. Virginia Tech demolished them. They lost at Penn by almost double digits in a Big 5 game. And then UNLV, who's been up and down, beat them by 15 as well. But then in conference, yeah, they've kind of figured it out. Ajigbo's been arguably the best rim protector in the entire league. They've got some big athletic wings, Glover and Haskins. And yeah, I even Finkley, I'm impressed by the way it's come together to the point that like they just weren't even on my radar when they dropped out of the top 200 at Ken Palm at one point, and now
Mhm.
they've surged all the way up to 133rd. So it's like you said, one of the best under the radar or like stealth great coaching jobs in the country.
They're going to be a great sneaky Jerome pick for people who are paying attention. Because
Ooh.
if you just go by how it's gone, essentially since A10 play began, they have been the third best team in the league.
Yeah.
But you would have no idea if you just looked at standard Ken Palm rankings.
Yeah. And I believe let's see, look at the standings. I think it'd be great for them to stay away from the SLU side of the bracket, considering they gave up 1.56 points per possession to SLU for a
Yeah.
40-minute game.
Might be wise to get out of that.
Yeah, but we'll see, man. They've got enough oomph to potentially make a run. And hey, Steve Donahue thinks the A10 and the Big East are roughly the same. And given the Big East's stinkiness this year, a 3-bit A10 and a 2-bit Big East, can we get there?
3-bit A10, 3-bit Big
3-bit.
East.
I guess there's no
I'd
way
be
it's a
flying
2-bit
high.
Big East. Yeah.
That would be the
okay.
greatest backdoor cover of an idiotic preseason prediction in history.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. All right. My final thought is the number is 38.8%. That is the percentage of BYU's points being scored by AJ DeBanza since Richie Saunders went down. Basically 40%. If you add in Rob Wright, it's a full-on 60% from two guys, which when they're playing like 8 dudes in a rotation, that's kind of alarming. They're just not getting anything from a third scorer whatsoever. Kennard Davis hasn't been what you'd hoped for. Keba Keita has been a great defensive presence, but the defense is so bad that he can only do so much. I still think the upside is so limited with this team, and the road loss at West Virginia kind of shows up. They play tonight as we're recording at Cincinnati, and they're an underdog to Wes Miller and Cincy. So we'll see if they end up losing 3 straight. And then, of course, there was the embarrassment at home against UCF when they were down like 70-35 in the second half. I don't know. Can this team win more than a game in the tournament, Will? It's going to be like that Kevin Durant goes to the round of 32 kind of thing.
I think it's going to be exactly that. But what's weird is they're actually playing themselves into a situation where I'd be more interested in picking them. Like if they play their way down and it's like, oh, this is BYU versus 2 seed, fill in the blank, like Iowa State. Like, or well, that can't be Iowa State. Sorry. That sinus brain. Apologies. But if it was like, them against 2 seed Illinois or even 2 seed Purdue or something, take a look at that. Think on it.
I'm also going to give your sinus brain I'm going to let you off the hook. They only played Iowa State once in the regular season, and if they don't play them in the tournament, they are allowed to play in the round of 32, technically.
See, that's why when I was looking at bracketology stuff, I was like, oh, Duke and Miami could just play if they wanted to, 1 versus 8.
Yeah, make it happen.
They didn't play in the regular season for some stupid reason.
Yep.
So I would advise anybody who would like to get the playing with AJ Debance and Rob Wright experience, go to like the YMCA in whatever city or town you live in and find the one D3 guy who played as like the 7th man for like Maryville College and watch as he takes half the shots from 35 feet out. And you just like, you kind of walk how in soccer, there's the middle third of the pitch. You just walk the middle third of the court because there's no reason to run when you know the guy's going to take all the shots. That kind of feels like what it would be to play with those two.
Yeah, I know they don't have a lot of offensive talent around them, but to have not found any way to find a third option is problematic, especially for a team whose defense in the past month ranks like outside the top 150. It's looking a little dire. All right, that wraps it up on our thoughts. But Will, we've got to go to Willstradamus. We got to get your thoughts on Tuesday night. There's plenty of bubble games if you want to go in that direction. UCLA, San Diego State, Auburn. We got some big ones. They got to take care of business. You've got your the patron team of Will Warren, Miami of Ohio, is trying to stay undefeated tonight. Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, UNC. What direction do you want to go in? What is jumping out on your crystal ball?
Oh, all right. So I'm going to say Alabama gets it done on the road at Georgia. Georgia, I think, can basically lock themselves in with 1 win, right? Especially this one. They win this one, it's over.
Yeah, there should be in already. I think they'd be locked if they win.
This would be a mega super lock, but I think I would take Alabama to get it done on the road. Possibly stupid, maybe not. We'll find out. I just it's one of those games where I see so many people going spot hunting with Georgia, where it's like, oh, Alabama just had this big road win against a rival. Now they got to go on the road to Georgia, and it's like, well, you guys run like it's already baked in. I can't really help you there. Like, so I'm kind of tempted to fade there and go with Bama. I'm just scrolling down chronologically here and picking from there, if that's okay.
Yeah, I love that. It's got to be. I want you to feel strongly about it. Don't force any predictions here.
I'll go Texas A&M close over Kentucky at home. People are going to be really high in Kentucky after that Vandy win. I'd hold. Kentucky shot the daylights out of the ball, and Vandy did not have a great shooting day. I'm not fully swayed yet on them turning this invisible corner.
Texas A&M by 10, I'll say, Will.
Ooh. I'm going to go Miami to get it done, we'll say by 11. I don't think that Toledo is going to be the team that gives them trouble. I think that if there's a team I'm going to try and go 2 for 2 here in the trouble meter. Because I said Western was a lot more likely than Eastern to give them a struggle last week.
Yeah,
I think Ohio.
I watched the first Toledo Miami game, and Toledo did not give them any problems.
No, so I don't think it'll be an issue. Ohio strikes me as a more complicated matchup. To go with the fact that if you get there, I think that is when the pressure is really going to weigh on them. If you're 30-0 and you've just have the one more game, that could be the first time really where it's like, oh man, Because you remember Gonzaga 2017 played at home against a BYU team that I don't think even made the tournament that year. And it was like the pressure got to them all at once and they lost in a game that I think they were 20+ point favorites in.
Do you know the name of the Miami versus Ohio rivalry?
No, I feel like it's going to be a good one.
The Battle of the Bricks.
Ooh.
Battle of the Bricks. And then I don't think that'll be the case of that actual basketball game. And I think that's more the football name rivalry. But it does cover like the whole thing.
They should have Pusha T show up.
That would be great. He'll push some bricks.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm sure the student body would be excited about him providing what he can.
I'm going to go UNC to get it done over Clemson. I don't love picking UNC in any situation right now, but this one seems fairly safe to me. Clemson, it feels kind of like the steam's running out. Like they had it for about 3 months, and I think they've ran out of juice.
And they had the sigh of relief win on Saturday of thank God we beat Louisville. We're probably safe now. Whew, okay.
Yeah. And everybody knows after you have the sigh of relief win, you don't immediately go back to pooping yourself. Give me Kansas by a lot over Arizona State. This has the hallmarks of the Arizona State Bobby Hurley era home game where it's like, oh man, this is a 2-point game with 10 minutes left. And then you like flip to another game and there's 5 minutes left. And you're like, oh, Kansas is up by 13 now. Never mind. I just don't feel it with them.
I believe that is Bobby Hurley's final home game. So that could be
we'll be really torn up over that, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly.
So the last couple I want to pick here, BYU, Cincinnati. We'll pick Nebraska. I'm going to go with, just to get out of the way, UCLA over Nebraska. I don't think that's a great stylistic matchup for UCLA, but UCLA has been really darn good at home this year. And only, I think, of the top half of the Big Ten, Michigan was the only one to go 2-0 against USC and UCLA in the West Coast swing. These two, for whatever reason, Washington and Oregon, I think you can get away with, but USC and UCLA together are a tough matchup, especially for this one essentially being, I think, at 10 p.m. body clock time for Nebraska. It's a weird deal.
Yep. I kind of like that.
And then, God, I don't like this. I don't like it at all, but I will pick Cincinnati over BYU.
I think it's smart. Let Cincinnati get close enough to the bubble to sniff it and then bring back Wes Miller. It feels inevitable now.
Oh, that's evil.
Yep. Okay, that's it, folks. That wraps it up for us here at Stats by Will and Jim. Thank you for tuning in. Will, any other words for the folks before we send them on their way?
No, nothing
Things
much.
To plug your writing.
Oh yeah, well, great stuff here at Basket Interview all week, not just by me. The conference tournament preview is pretty good. I am going to write something very defensive of the Sun Belt ladder structure. I've just seen too much hate, and I think it's time that we get the correct opinion on the record. But Jordan Majewski's game previews are a godsend, especially when I, kind of an idiot in comparison, or I'm just like looking for somebody to tell me how to feel about a certain game, especially if it's like a conference that I've seen once all year. Maybe perhaps the Sun Belt. His previews are quite good, especially for the slot games. We also, I don't know, we're just going to have a great month. I'm so happy it's March. I'm so happy that we have all this stuff on our site. I've been telling people that we're building the college basketball Grantland, and it's been super fun to see it come to life.
Yep, agreed. There should be a ticket punched article about every conference tournament champion as those progress. So if you want to see, get a little scouting report of those teams before the actual NCAA tournament bracket rolls out, I think we should be a great resource for that at Basket Under Review. You'll have, I believe there's going to be a bracket under review. I don't know exactly their schedule, but with Lucas and Eamon talking the actual bracket and building that out and who's going to be in. So check that out. Lucas has got his Bubble Watch there. I write the Bubble Watch at The Athletic. You should consume both because, hey, why not? More Bubble Watch content is king. That is pretty much what we got for you. So thank you to Shirley Donovan for championing the Basket Under Review endeavor. Shout out to Corey Aldis, our producer, and Sam Frayer for our graphics. And, of course, to Homefield for sponsoring all of our audio content here at Basket Under Review. So thanks to you folks for tuning in. We'll have one more episode next week before Selection Sunday. TBD on format if we'll change something up, but we'll keep you posted. But until then, Thanks for listening and enjoy the hoops.